Hello everybody, it is Dreadsgober here, and we are going to be playing some more MLB, and basically what I'm doing in this video is, as you can see, I'm going to be showing you guys the best pitching stats. I'm just going to use John Lester as an example, just because he's my best pitcher at the moment, so I'm going to use him. Now, obviously you guys can definitely disagree with me, and that's fine, and I actually want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear what you guys think about my list, and let's just get right into it. So the number 5 thing, I'm going to do kind of like a top 5 here. Number 5 is going to be BB per 9, or in other words, how many walks per 9 you give up. The reason I picked this one is because this one kind of works into another one. This kind of it basically ties into your WHIP, which is walks and hits per innings pitch, which limits the amount of people that are on base. And in Diamond Dynasty, that's huge. You never want to have people on base. It's very important to never have people on base, and I think that's very important. I honestly think that, granted, it's a little underrated because you can kind of just throw pitches over the plate, but I have had some cases where the game honestly just wants me to walk the person. So I'm thinking that having walks per 9 is a very important stat to have, just because of the fact that it will just limit the amount of people that get on base. And I honestly think that it's just a solid stat. So I'm going to go into number 4, which is going to, and John Lester isn't really just a great example of all of these. I'm just going to say that I just like him as a pitcher in general. So number 4 is actually going to be velocity. Now, when you're online and you're going up against someone, let's say, we'll use Steven Matz here as an example. His velocity is 92. It basically makes it, you want a high velocity because it almost makes it nearly impossible to actually hit the fastball sometimes. People can throw a fastball and sometimes people can't even react to it. So that's very huge to have, is just to be able to say, if they're going to hit the fastball, they actually have to be guessing fastball and swinging at the correct time. They can't just be, look at the pitch, realize what it is, and then swing. They have to be guessing fastball. So I think that's actually really big online because it forces people into a lot of, ugly situations where if they guess fastball and you throw a changeup, it's a swing and a miss. So velocity is very, very good in some cases, and but it can also get you in some trouble where if they do guess fastball, a lot of high velocity pitchers have very high or very low home runs per 9. And can give up a lot of home runs if they make contact. So we'll go into number 3 here, which is actually going to be, let's see if I have a good example of this. I don't really, but we'll just use Corey Kluber. It is control, and control is probably one of the biggest things online because with a lot of the guys you're going to play against, they only have one blue zone. So you really need to be able to locate your pitches, and you really need to be able to actually hit the spots you want to hit. Because if you're trying to throw a fastball on the outside corner of the plate, and all of a sudden it goes right over the middle of the plate, and it's against Mike Trout or Bryce Harper, that's probably going to be a home run. So you need control. It's very big, and it really just helps with you locating pitches. You can, get ahead in the count. I always prefer to get first pitch strikes. It's very important to get first pitch strikes. So control helps a ton with that. It helps with you locating pitches and hitting the blue spots so that you can get people out more often. So I will go on to number 2, and I'll just go back to. We'll go to Zach Duke here. Number 2. And this is, I don't know how I feel about this one, but number 2 for me is home runs per 9. And the reason that is because there's a ton of people online that are going to be playing with Alex Rodriguez, Bryce Harper, Reggie Stoker, whatever his name is. And a lot of people just want to hit home runs. And if you have a high home run per 9, it just eliminates home runs almost, and it makes it so, people just won't be hitting home runs off of you. It doesn't necessarily eliminate it, but the higher it is, Bryce Harper might not hit a home run, he might hit a pop fly, and it'll eliminate those big hitters and, possibly get you out of some tough situations. So it's very nice to have, especially against people that use really big, power lineups. Because once you kind of get to like, the upper 90s, I mean, everyone has power really. There's a very select few of people that don't have power, and it's very clutch to be able to just, make sure they don't have, they don't hit home runs. Because it gets annoying when you give up a home run, because it kind of changes the rest of the game for you, and you kind of just like give up because you're like, screw it, I already gave up a home run. So what's the point in trying? So having a high home run per 9 is definitely important. And I'm gonna go. I don't think any of these guys are really that great at this one. This is kind of just for like. I mean, it's hard to pick out some of these pitchers because a lot of them have like around the same per 9s. Like some of them are just like, wow, that's actually a terrible example. That's not the best example. For an example, Steven Matz, they're all within like a certain range. They're really close to each other, so it's not the easiest thing to pick some of these guys out. But for the number one thing I would say is hits per 9, and I think that's just blatantly obvious. The reason I say hits per 9 is mainly because against a lot of people, they'll always have people like contact hitters. You'll have the people that start off, such as like D. Gordon and just other people. You really don't want to be giving up hits. You don't want the ball to be put in play ever because that just really just kind of screws up everything you're trying to do. You don't want them to really touch the ball. You don't want them to get hits. You don't want them getting the ball into the gap, and that's really what hits per 9 stops. Is it just stops them from getting hits, and the higher your hits per 9 are, it's very nice because of the fact that people will get less hits off of you, and maybe they get a hit off of you one inning, but the chances of them doing it 2 times in an inning is very slim. So it's nice to have hits per 9 because of the fact that it's extremely hard to score runs off someone that, you kind of need that one big hit, and hopefully they have good home run per 9s. And, having good hits per 9 is it's probably the best stat. You really want to focus on limiting the amount of hits other people get. It's demoralizing when you keep giving up hits, and I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, I think that's just blatantly obvious. I don't have to say much. You don't want to give up hits. I wouldn't obviously rather give up a home run, but you don't want to have someone with low hits because then people will just keep getting hits off of you, and it's just not good. So let's go back to John Lester quickly. So the ones that didn't make it, we'll just start off with stamina. The reason I don't mind stamina too much is because hopefully you have a good bullpen, and if you go to your bullpen, hopefully, mine's not amazing, but it has a ton of really solid relievers. So it's like, even if you don't have the best stamina, most people online don't necessarily like take a ton of pitches. Normally they might take 1 or 2, but they swing on like the third one. So you're really not going to be pitching more than 3 pitches to a batter. So it's kind of like pointless to have a ton of stamina. And if your guy runs out of energy, you can just put in your bullpen because you probably have an amazing bullpen. Another one that didn't make it was strikeouts per 9. This one was very close for me, but it didn't. The reason I didn't really put it up there is because I prefer to get groundouts more. Groundouts keep the ball in the infield. It kind of forces everyone to stay at their base. So let's say if there's a runner on second, there's a ground ball to shortstop. It forces the runner on second to stay at second. You can still get the guy out at first. And there's other cases where it's like if there's a runner on first base, you get a ground ball to second base. You can get a double play. I think groundouts are definitely a lot more productive and just a lot better just because they can get more people out. Granted, strikeouts are obviously great, and it's a fun stat to have, but at the same time, you don't need to get strikeouts. So it's, more of a materialistic thing. It's more of like ooh, that's really cool, as in more of like ooh, that can actually help me win games. And granted, strikeouts, yes, can help you win games, but, rolling that ground ball is a little bit more effective than getting strikeouts. You only need 1 pitch to roll a ground ball. You need 3 to strike someone out. Probably not going to strike too many people out. Another one was clutch. Clutch really only works in the late inning games. So unless your pitcher is just going, your your pitcher would have to pitch the entire game, which, I mean, granted, yes, that's ideal, because if they pitch the entire game, they did really well. But I mean, if it gets into the 9th inning, I'm sure you can just go to your closer and just go to Mark Melancon, and your closer probably has high clutch because of the fact that that's when he performs. So I would say get a closer that has high clutch and then simply just pitch him. I mean, I don't know with these guys. Yeah, not as good, but obviously they're not. So, I mean, you probably even have some relief pitchers that are good at clutch. I mean, 84 clutch. So it's not like you need your starting pitcher to have good clutch because of the fact that, you know, you can just put in your relief pitcher. Control was there. Velocity was there. Break. The reason I didn't really put break there is because, yes, break is nice, but at the same time, once you kind of see how the pitch moves like 3 or 4 times, you can guess where it's going to be. And once you kind of throw the pitch a couple times, they understand where the ball is going to be and how it's going to be. And you just kind of like, good people can pick out the breaking ball, and no matter how good the break is, they can probably hit it if they figure it out. So, I mean, most people don't have terrible break. Most people's break is like in the 70s, or I guess he's in the 80s. 70s isn't bad. 65 isn't horrendous. Steven Matt's break is still amazing. His curveball is very nice, and his changeup is solid. So some of these guys, granted, they don't have the best break, but, you know, at the same time, it doesn't matter because their pitches still break enough. And, you know, in some cases, it really wouldn't even be that much better because maybe you don't want your pitch to break that much. Maybe you want your slider to just move a little bit outside. You know, you want it to go straight for a lot longer and then kind of cut outside a little bit, just like a cutter. And you don't want it to move that much because if it moves a lot, people can recognize it and then they can be like, all right, well, it's going to be outside. So break was a little bit tough for me, but you don't, I mean, you can figure out break. It's easy to hit breaking ball pitches and just, yeah. So I didn't really do any hitting stats because I figure you don't want to base your pitcher off hitting. That's just stupid. But obviously the fielding stats are relatively important, but by no means should you even consider them. So they're like a tiebreaker, really. There's no reason why they should be considered, really. I'm not sure what my arm. I might get like a ground ball back to the pitcher once a game, and most of the time every time they really get it. So I guess just don't have your pitcher have like 20 arm accuracy. So, I mean, that wouldn't be great. You wouldn't want him, but at the same time, you shouldn't really let it like affect what you're doing. It's not his job. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was helpful. If you have any suggestions and maybe you disagree with me, please leave a comment. I went over the best hitting stats earlier, and I didn't really get to completely comment on all of them, but it was basically, it went, well, if you haven't seen the video yet, go see it now. I'm going to give you the short answer in 5 seconds. I'm giving you time right now to just go see it, so you can pause it. Basically, for hitting, it goes contact, then vision, then power, and then I think I said clutch, and then I honestly said bunting and discipline. I might have said bunting before clutch. The reason I put bunting so high, guys, is because there's a lot of times where I would have a runner on third base with 1 out or 0 outs, and you basically need to get him in, but let's say your hitter isn't great. You know, there's a chance you might hit a ground ball to the shortstop. If you bunt the ball and you steal, I mean, I've done that a couple times, and it works out the majority of the time. As long as the guy doesn't throw a fastball 20 feet outside, you're going to be fine. So steal and bunting. And bunting is actually one of the most underrated stats. I've played someone that only bunted, and, I mean, it works out if the guy doesn't understand how to shift for half the game. So, but other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Made it relatively quick. But anyways, I really hope to see you guys in the next video, and I don't know what else to go over, really. There's not much more to go over. I think everyone should have an idea of, what their team is supposed to look like now. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. So, see you.